You're such an asshole.
All right. Interesting question. I just kind of disagree with the premise, so it won't be a terribly deep or philosophical one. But we may be wrong. We could be wrong. Mr. Clary, what caused the boomers to become so evil? Did these people have a conscience? No. And good night, everybody. Just went so tragically wrong in the raising of them, considering that their fathers and mothers of the World War II Great Depression generation was a rugged generation that was proud of their country, loved God, loved their families, on a traditional Judeo. You wrote Jude. Hey, Jude, scoop dooby doo, something or other, and make it better. Traditional Jude Christian values and fought for freedom. It is now beyond question that the baby boomer generation, specifically the white, liberal, rich, pro-abortion, pro-legal, immigration, pro-mandatory vaccine, God-hating, pro-LGBTQ, permanent political, and whatever other category I may have been. Whoa. Black Panther? All the different rated, the feminists? No, man. Everyone had hairy hoo-ha back then. Everyone of that generation. But look, it's no different than today. You can go ahead and be confused with what face they put on, whether, say, for example, it's Black Lives Matter. Okay, well, it's for racial reasons. Feminism, it's for women. It's mental LGBT. No. That is merely the face they put on. What they are first and foremost are communists, parasites, and thieves. They just don't want to work for a living. And they go and take a trait, preferably one they were born with, or one they claim to have that is not the case. You know, this is why I'm very insulted. I'm straight. I'm not straight, but I'm very insulted because I do have non-straight friends where you got people, what is it? 1 in 5 Zoomers now claim they're not straight. Dude, that for popularity reasons, like that's an insult. Or for people who legitimately have a mental illness, like, oh my gosh, I got autism. Give me money. No, you just don't have a dad and you're a weakling. You don't have people with actual autism do suffer, right? So it's very insulting to these people. They don't care. They want free money. They're going to play. I have trait X. Give me money because I'm disadvantaged by those who don't have trait X. And if you don't, you hate people and therefore are a bigot against people of trait X. It's like, no, you're just a lazy, disgusting piece of crap. And on top of it, you are ruining the reputation of people who have trait X, acting like an insufferable parasite. That's what we really ought to be doing. Like anytime people like, you could respond like, what? So you think all black people are poor? What, you think all black people are on welfare? And you'd have leftists like just totally reeling because you'd be like, oh no, then what are you saying about black people? No, I'm saying black people can become engineers, whatever, surgeons, police, whatever. What are you saying? You saying they're not smart enough that they constantly need to? Oh, okay, okay, that's all right. You just don't like black people. That's all right. So you gotta like today. Back then, dude, it was everyone, and that's why I put the thumbnail. The hippies were the original SJWs. This isn't new. All right. They were dirty. They were gutter punks. They didn't want to work. They were spoiled little brats from the suburbs. All right. And there was whatever it was to avoid work. In their case, like, dude, man, like, why don't you just let us peace and love? Like, how are you going to argue with peace and love? Like, yeah, I'm for peace and love. You're going to get a job. But, like, I got a spiritual thing going on. And that's all it was. All the hippies ever were was work avoidance. That's it. And you could kind of see where that gets the boomer generation now is like the most laughable generation. Anyway, I'm just saying, don't confuse it with the late. It has nothing to do with that. You could summarize them in all one group: lazy parasites who don't want to work. That's it. That was it. Baby boomers have reached a point where their continued existence is not only a burden to their descendants, who are on the hook to pay for $30 trillion worth of debt. Try 50. They aren't content to utterly destroy their own millennial and Gen Z children with drugs, crappy junk food, even crappier music. No. I don't think, see, now you're applying malice. And this is, I think, where you and I disagree. You think the boomers purposely lied to their children? I don't think they did that. I think they just didn't want to raise their children. Like, to even coming up with a lie would require too much work. All right. Maybe they maybe somewhere deep down inside knew they were lying or whatever, but they did not say, I want to make my kid fat. They said, I just want my kid to go away. Here's some, fine, I'll get you your Mountain Dew. And here's the video game you wanted. Now leave mommy alone. Mommy's got to go whatever work. Daddy's got to go read the newspaper. And let's also consider the boomers. I don't think the boomers maliciously lied to my generation and millennials about college degrees. They effectively lied, or they gave the wrong information, but I think they thought that, people who went to college in my generation did really well. And there, I think their heart was in the right place. But then after a while, I think a lot of it was like, just, any degree is a good degree. Follow hard, money will follow. And totally not caring about it. And then you saw a divorce. So I do debate whether the boomers had any real interest. Like, they'd give you a common sense wisdom or information or advice they thought that worked for them. That was just, figure it out. You're just fishing in the wrong holes. Maybe you attract the wrong type of guy or girl. As long as they didn't have to think too deeply about it, you just got out of their way, you let them alone, then it'd be all right. But I don't think they're trying to make you poor, fat, miserable. I'll give you another perfect example, though. This is more modern millennial parents, certainly my generation of parents. It's not that they want their child to be mentally ill. But if they have to, how could I put it? They don't want their child to be mentally ill, but if it shuts their kid up and they don't actually have to parent, then claiming their child does have a mental illness and giving them a drug is a preferable option than them investing in their child and actually being a parent, so they wouldn't have the symptoms of mental illness in the first place. See what I'm saying? Like, no parent wants their child to be mental. Well, some parents, especially nowadays, get pride to get off on that. But it's not that they want their child to be mentally ill. But if it gets in the way of them enjoying their life, they're okay with their child being diagnosed and here's a drug. Here's some Ritalin. See what I'm saying? So it's not malicious, but it's just on that side of it. Like just one more arc second, it would have been malicious. They aren't content to utterly destroy. No, they're not. They're not destroying. They don't mean to destroy. Like let's take reverse home mortgaging of homes. Not doing because they would prefer their children have a house to inherit, but not at the expense of them having to work and actually save up for retirement. So they're going to reverse mortgage their homes. See? It's not that I've said it before, it's not that they don't love their children. They just don't love the children more than themselves. They always love themselves more than their children. So they're not going to give you outright bad advice or maliciously. They're going to give you bad advice unconsciously or lazily. Straight millennial and Gen Z children, drugs, food, LGBTQ porn, culture glorifies all forms of promiscuity, sex, and gory violence. Here's where you and I would disagree, because I'm okay with porn or LGBTQ and music, whatever music you want. The greatest mountain of debt in history, that's a problem. The escalation of a potential nuclear exchange with Russia is proof that the continuing existence is a danger remaining 99% of humankind. At last, a last FU before they go to the grave. I don't think they're doing it for ego. They're not doing it because they want to destroy their children's generation. They're unaware of their children, I think, is the best way to describe it. They are more concerned with matters that are presented to them in their lives than they are their own children. That's a very good way of not just boomer parents, but Gen X and millennial parents nowadays. It's as if these geriatric scum know they are going to hell and are determined to take as many down with them. Some of them, I think, are like that. Yes. I mean, a population of 300 million, obviously, is going to be a group of everybody. But yes, I see my life is miserable, so I'm going to make everybody's life as miserable as well. I would say that's more along the lines of old aging feminists who do not want young women to fall in love or be pretty. I would definitely say that's there. But certainly some politicians like, Biden. It's like, oh my God. I don't pay attention to politics so I can enjoy my life. But any once in a while, I tune in like, what is he doing? And like, remove me from being like a conservative or libertarian or Republican. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? I don't think is a matter of raising spoiled man children. This is something else entirely. It's one thing to be spoiled and immature. It's quite another thing to hate somebody so much, Donald Trump, that you're willing to hurt innocent people, destroying a country to just be rid of them. Here's where I would disagree, because I think you underestimate the power of being spoiled. I'll give you an example. All right. The richest, most spoiled girl I ever dated was the Asian billionaire heiress, who threw a temper tantrum in my car because when I went in to pay for the gas, I didn't leave and ask her, "Oh, do you want anything?" I didn't even, just so you know, I didn't bring back anything for myself. I just went in to pay for the gas. And she was pissed. I'm like, "What's wrong?" Like, I'm not telling. And I can remember from Louisiana Avenue and 394, I have to look it up, all the way out to 280 and what was the 35W? Where I had to pull it over because she was screaming and threatening suicide and all that. That's a long drive. It's a long drive for a 20-something-year-old guy. That's what excessive wealth will do. Excessive wealth is probably one of the worst things possible. That's unearned wealth. Let me qualify that. Like your Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a reasonably sane guy. Jeff Bezos, same thing. They had to earn their wealth. All right. But if you just get it, nothing good happens with unearned money. I'll give you another example, though. It's not necessarily mentally ill or psychotic behavior like a suburbanite princess, but look at the American Indian reservations. There's all the free money in the world. Drugs, alcoholism, depression, suicide, murder. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible standards. And their mental health is not that good either. There, it's government cheese. However, I think, you want to talk about a lot of unearned wealth. Look at heiresses and heirs. Joe Biden's kid, whatever his name is, Hunter Biden. Nothing good comes from unearned wealth, but especially a lot of it. And the baby boomers were just like the first generation to be spoiled. And the World War II generation, which I'm somewhat forgiving of, spare the rod, spoil the child. They didn't follow that. They went through such hell between Great Depression and then World War II. They logically, we want to give our children everything we didn't have. And in the process, they raised at what was at the time the most spoiled generation in history. And it's no surprise then that you have hippies who reach out for anything to avoid work, but then the ego, and this is why I might grant you a little bit more, it was white liberal hippies. In this one regard, where they thought like chakra crystals and like there was a spirituality, there was something more important to it than that. No, you're just lazy people who don't want to work. Cartman had it right. You're just hippies. That's all you are. You don't want to work. That is the natural consequence of not having to work, never going through trials and tribulations, and never having to support yourself. And then like the 70s got bad enough with the oil crisis. They had children, the Volcker recession. They grew up. They got a haircut. Some of them took responsibility. Ronald Reagan came into office. Economic booming times again. America's great. Soviet Empire was collapsing. They didn't do the greatest of things. So some of them grew up, but a lot of them never did. A lot of them went to academia. Now, gosh almighty. Tarot card readers, chakra, your old hippies. Is there anything sadder? No, not really. But in a weird sense, they went from parents spoiling them. Some of them worked. Some became conservative. Obviously, boomers are more conservative politically. That's just because they age. But then in a sense, they also continue spoiling the next generation, like with borrowing money. See, let's go through the finance of the boring economic analysis. You guys all go through the good times create weak men, bad times, strong men, good times. We have kept extending the good times and exponentially creating weaker and weaker men through different forms of financing. So the first generation, the baby boomers, good times with a lot of money, they paid cash for the good times, spoiled the baby boomers. Baby boomers spoiled their children, millennials and Xers, by borrowing money. That's where materialism and brand name clothes and Nike high tops and all that crap started to come in. All right. And suburb houses and towards the very tail end, it was SUVs and fancy cars, keeping up with the Joneses. Very much that's where that happened. Now, more recently, it's we're just, okay, borrow as much money as possible. We don't pay cash. We borrow it. Now we just went to outright printing money at the federal level to spoil what would be the young millennials and Zoomers so they can go to college for the dumbest crap and, make patty cake believe they're responsible intellectual adults. And now it looks like we're going to bail them out with what? Printed off money. So the world's reserve currency has kept these perpetual good times. And we just kept, it's a sad statement that the boomers are the most responsible generation right now in America, which they are. They're disgusting, but Gen X ain't that much better. Maybe we tie, maybe. But millennials and Zers, like, oh my gosh, you guys are so sad. You'll lie about your genitalia, or not your gender, just so you get popularity. Like, you guys are whacked. There's no saving. And you guys, okay, the Great Resignation, I get it, but most of you weren't even capable of showing up on time for a job anyway. And then we wonder why there's nothing in the shelves and why we can't get stuff in the, don't worry, there'll be a supply side recession coming pretty soon. So if you look at what money does to unearned money, you see that this is just a natural consequence. There was no evil. There's no conscious plan for baby boomers to become like your Saturday morning villain, cartoon villain, or just your Megatron. You're just evil because you're evil, or Skeletor. I think they're so weak, so spoiled, and the hardwired programming of human laziness, plus with arrogance, made it so they had to think like they knew what they were doing. So they go to college and become academics, and the shocker crystals and wooey wowie woo and peace and oh, just fight Vietnam, man. And that continued on. And then they gave you horrible advice because they themselves didn't have it. And then they spoiled my generation, your generation. And then now we spoiled the rest of it with printed off money. And now you could see it's not. Let's put it this way. Millennial parents and Gen X parents didn't lie to their Gen Z and Gen Alpha children. They're currently in high school right now about non-binary, non-straight sexes. I think they're one out of principle I would agree with. Well, there are people who aren't straight. And you should treat those people with the same kindness, respects, and rights as anyone else. So which is what you should be if you're any thinking American, any thinking person. And they also, in having children, say, hey, you might not be straight. It's possible, but it might happen. But then where it gets weird is, okay, but you're really special if you have it. And my child has autism. It's like, wait a minute now you're starting to like do the opposite of what the original gay rights people want. Like, hey, don't force this. Don't force us to be straight. We're not straight. Now we're forcing this. So you have politically motivated parents, like the vegan parents who like don't feed their kids protein and the kids die as an infant. That happened, I think, twice or three times. That's an extreme example. But also now anything you want, free range kids, and we'll borrow the money and the government's now going to take care of everything. And now you're telling these kids basically a lie. Like, are you sure you're not straight? You sure you're straight? Are you sure? You sure you don't like this? Well, you're just letting these kids be kids. And now you have all this money, government food, government daycare. That's all pre and post school programs are. Now you got teachers raising the kids because mom and dad don't. Oh no, we don't want to hold any standards. That's hard. And now you can have anything taught to these kids. And I don't think a lot of it is indoctrination or grooming by some of it is. I think it more is just now you got 1/5, 1 in 5 Zs or alphas think they're not straight. I don't think for a second they think they're not straight. I think they're just doing it for attention. There ain't no dad or discipline to say, knock it off. No, take that out of your nose. No, you're not. No, you're straight. Ain't no one stopping them. Now, is that because millennial parents lied to their children about some did, probably. The teachers certainly did. Or is it just lazy parenting and they didn't want to do it? Apathy, uninvestment in their children. That's probably what it is. And so I don't think it is malice. I don't think it is the boomers hate their children. I think it's just lazy parenting and a ton of money. And now without having to work for something, you can't identify who you are. I am a plumber. I am an accountant. I'm a doctor. I'm going to make money. Look at the money I made. Look at all the good I did for society, whatever, saving lions, balancing books, doing taxes, fixing cars. If you don't have a skill or a trade because, well, socialism, you don't need a job, and we do force traitism on people, you got these kids, I like that genitalia. Maybe I'll pick this Pokemon card. Oh, I'm this gender today. It's fluid. I believe in socialism. I so care about this political cause. And now they're miserable. And that's horrible. Oh, follow your heart. Money will follow. Regular old lies come in. Oh, here's some government programs to bail you out of your incredible stupidity. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll come up with some crazy mentally ill people then. Yes. And it's not because whatever they're bi or whatever. It's because they're straight and they're acting bi to gain attention. And all of society. So, yeah. And that can only happen in an environment where there's just tons of money, tons of wealth. I mean, read through Mao Zedong's background. That guy was a spoiled psychopath. Nothing good comes from wealth. Ho Chi Minh, spoiled little brat. Nothing good comes from unearned wealth. Lenin, spoiled little brat. Nothing good comes from unearned wealth. And so, yeah, that's where you get your crazies. That's where you get your mentally ill. I don't even say maybe mentally ill, but because that is a genuine group of people that do suffer something outside of their control. I'm talking your crazies. So I don't believe it was the baby boomers purposely ruining their children's lives. It was them spoiling them. And that is the consequence of having too much unearned money, whether it comes from daddy or the government. All right, let's go to super chats. If we have any. Oh, we do have some. Look at this. Oh, boy. Boo-boo. 9 Polish zlotys. What's your problem with millennials? We is awesome. No, I as a group, you're just lazy and you don't produce. By the way, link down below is how not to become a millennial. All right. But on the individual, no, I judge everyone on the individual level. But if you look at like performance metrics, it's like, guys, you got to get your game together because you're going to die pretty soon. You know, you're 40 years old and you're still expecting a student loan bailout. What the hell? Also, I will say the problem with millennials is one in the past, though, they seem to have changed their tone a little bit, was the lip and arrogant attitude y'all had. Not you. Most of you had about how you knew everything at 23 and you were going to change the world. And you all voted in Barack Obama. Now you're all wondering why we were paying so much in health insurance. So it's the arrogance they once had. Maybe they're finally realizing they don't know everything. Maybe they're finally realizing their teachers were wrong and they were lied to. But if anything, it's pity and sadness. Well, that's why here. How not to become a millennial. You are the most suffering generation right now in America. I do believe Gen Z is going to trump that, though. They're going to suffer more because you've confused them about what genitalia they like to lick. And that's going to do a mind-F job on their poor minds. I do wish the millennials the best. In that book, it tells you how to salvage the remaining half of your life. Provides advice on how to prevent from that ever. I don't know, Zers and Alpha. Do you guys want to be poor and perpetually pissed off and overweight? Do you want to have your God be socialism and other people's money? Is that your one trick pony, or would you like to live a life that doesn't suck? Would you like to be able to afford rent? There are some awesome millennials. There are. Just as a whole, it's like, I don't know. You're kind of like boomers. Like there's some awesome boomers. Not a lot. Chase Robidoux, $10. My family is from Rosebud. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you're an American Indian. Hard to believe my father left that when so many of his family didn't. Well, I'm confused. Family's from Rosebud and Pine Ridge. Hard to believe my father left that when so many of his family didn't. Yeah, your father, right. No, you should. And I can't imagine what it was like in your father's time. I don't imagine it wasn't then. But Pine Ridge is the worst one. Well, you know that. It's not. There are some good reservations out there. God, if you got pictures, I'd love to see those. That'd be cool if your old man had it. But yeah, there's nothing good on the res. Nothing good unless there's some agriculture or a casino or mining or oil in some of the southern ones. But yeah, you got to leave an environment where you're not allowed to succeed. I remember driving through Rosebud one time and Pine Ridge. I was like 19, it was a long time ago. And Martin, I don't know if you've ever been through Martin. The Black Blur, $10. Cappy, what's your opinion on the Department of Homeland Security's new wing, the Disinformation Governance Board? What do you think it is? It's Orwellian nightmare stuff. It's anti-free speech. This is the Biden stuff where I'm like, what, really? Do you guys step out of Vegas? Do you guys step out of DC at all? Disinformation Governance Board. The government can now decide what's disinformation and fake news. Okay. I'm against it. I don't think there should be an NPR. Like, you should have like maybe a press box, a press pool of spokesmen. What do they call it? The people who make the official statements of the government. And like, okay, that's it. Or maybe if there's a war going on, like, okay, we need a government, like, but that should be under each military branch. Like, there's the Marine press, the Army press, and you guys report back to America. But the United States federal government, the state, there should be no NPR. No, you don't get a Pravda. The government does not get a say in matters. I don't know, like the emergency broadcast system, like, holy cow, get out of here. The Russians invaded Florida. That's what I think we need. Robert Flores, $20 generous. Remember, Aaron, I sent an asshole consulting query about World War III possibility. You dismissed it as, we don't do war anymore. We sit down and discuss things as businessmen. Do you think World War III has a minuscule chance? Well, it's got a minuscule chance. Yeah. I mean, everything's got a chance. I don't think it's going to happen here. Look, everyone forgets the Vietnam War, the Korea War, which were way more hot and involved the United States. Afghanistan, we tissed the Soviets about that. I don't think we're gonna, we're doing what we did before. We're sending supplies in. That's what Korea was. China and Russia sending supplies. The UN, everyone, not them, sending supplies, and we just happened to duke it out over on the Korean Peninsula. It has a minuscule chance, yes. I'm more worried about the United States overreacting and Sleepy Joe doing something stupid. But I don't control it. Why would you worry about that? Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. Oh, well. Do you have your food supply? Gus Fring, $5. Millennial here. Glad I grew up with a family in rural Mexico. I was working since 8 and now I'm a homeowner. Silicon Valley without... There you go. Awesome. Well, let me dude. I'm not because you're Mexican, but are you contracting? Like, what if you're a tradesman in Silicon Valley? You got to be able to absolutely ass rape those guys. Oh, you'd like your toilet to work? Oh, I got to pay for this rent to hang out with you guys? Okay, well, that'll be $800 to fix the leak. Do we get them all? I think we got them all. There we go. All right. See you guys later. Toodles.